talk, and now we'll go on to the presentation by Hitoshi.
Is it okay now?
Yes, looks good.
Okay. I'm supposed to talk about DFS response to the European strategy, and just a reminder what DPF has been doing in regards to the European strategy update. So back in March, DPF submitted the U.S. national input to the European strategy update for particle physics, and that is posted at this archive number, and it's considered to be contribution ID 230 from their perspective. And since then, there have been also some changes in the U.S. Implementation of the P5 recommendations. So there has been also a call for updating the national input, and Mike already talked about this, and that was due November 14, and DPF did submit the update document that is also part of this the ID number 230, and I will show you what's in there. It's a very short document, and DPF leadership did try to seek out a wide input from various communities to putting that together. And that is meant to be really just the update. So as you can see, this is only 5 pages, including references, a very short document, and that just describes what has changed since the previous document. And one of the big changes has been this National Academies report. So we summarize its recommendations, and there has been also the change in the organization scope of the Higgs Factor Coordination Consortium, and we already heard about this. So now it's focused on FCCE without the IOC component, and some progress in the muon collider side, and also we have to respond to some of the ECFA questions. So that's what's in this document, and I don't read any more about this, and you can look at this the URL. And then we just heard from Mike Tutz about this ESG recommendations about the European strategy update. And so I'd like to just quickly assess if they are consistent with the P5 recommendations, and the comments and responsibilities of mine. So you can blame me if I say anything wrong. And if you disagree with my assessment, please provide input to me. And so that's what I like to do. And so I just blatantly copied the slides from Mike and just highlighted the recommendations that are relevant from the US point of view. So these recommendations are on the emphasis of completing high-lumi OHC upgrade, and that is exactly in the same spirit as what P5 recommended as the highest priority. So that's consistent. And then also they said that they would work in strong collaboration with global partners. So that's great. So we do welcome this globally minded strategy from Europe. The one reference, the 2D, about this, the relationship between the particle physics community and European Commission, I understand this is actually a reference to this interest from the European Commission to contribute to FCCE up to 20% level that already highlighted this. So that's actually really new because there's a European contribution to CERN. And so that is what the CERN is, of course, hoping to materialize. My understanding is that this really needs to be voted by the European Parliament. So by no means this is guaranteed at this stage, but that's a very strong push from European Commission. So that's actually wonderful from the point of view of particle physics community. And as you all know and heard already from Mike, that FCCE is recommended as a preferred option for the next flagship collider at CERN. And we, as DPF, should really support the recommendation for FCCE as a preferred option. Again, that's consistent with the P5 recommendation that we said FCCE and IOC meet our scientific requirements, and US is actively engaged in feasibility and design studies. And then comes the recommendation 6 in P5 report. Once the specific project is deemed feasible and well-defined, and what defines feasibility and well-definedness of the project remains to be seen, and we left it to the judgment by the agencies. The U.S. should aim for contribution at funding levels commensurate to that of the U.S. involved in LHC and high-lumi LHC. And this is an important clause here, while maintaining a healthy U.S. onshore program in particle physics. So this final last clause actually gave us this cost cap to be the FCC U.S. contribution to offshore Higgs factory within this cost range 1 to 3 billion, and internally we really made it to be like a 2 billion level. And so that's what the P5 recommended. And so if the contribution is at this level, that is consistent with this recommendation. And I was very impressed by this announcement that Mike already mentioned about private donations at the $1 billion level to FCCEE. So this recommendation 6 I referred to is still a last major bullets from the P5 recommendations. So there should be a targeted panel to make a decision on a U.S. accelerator-based program. And first bullet item is really about U.S. contribution in a specific Higgs factory. So in this case, that's FCCEE. So before HEPAP was disbanded, Gina mentioned at one of the meetings that she plans to constitute 3 different panels on these 3 different bullet points. So there will be a panel discussing the U.S. contribution in a specific Higgs factory. And that panel should definitely consider the physics potential, even with the descoping that was mentioned by this ESG document. And also, this discussion should include a broad membership across particle physics, because this would impact the U.S. program in other areas than the energy frontier. So that has to be agreed upon by a broader particle physics community within DPF and general. So this scoping was an interesting revision, and it is at least consistent in my view as the P5 recommendations as a preferred alternative, because the highest point bullet only referred to it as the Higgs factory, even though if you look at the detailed discussion in the later part of the report, it does highlight the top quark physics as well. So this is a loss if the scoping would happen, but broadly speaking, I would say that still maintains the consistency. The other research directions highlighted the accelerator-based and non-accelerator-based neutrino experiments, as well as dark matter experiments. And so they say it should be essential, should be supported. That is definitely consistent with the US view on the DUNE and PIP2 as the highest priority, and also continuation of the accelerator-based experiments in neutrinos, non-accelerator-based neutrino experiments such as IceCube, and various dark matter initiatives. And going back, he also talked about global long baseline neutrino program via the neutrino platform, and that has been really crucial for development during the US, and also non-accelerator based experiments, and that again can be read as a support for IceCube and so on. So that's also consistent with the future program, which also includes the G3 dark matter. This collaborative efforts to improve the precision of theoretical predictions. It doesn't say international collaboration, but of course we know that this should include the collaboration with the US as well. And general support for the theory is the same here. And 6A, this is the technologies for particle physics R&D in collaboration with international partners. So that's definitely a welcome statement that we welcome collaboration in R&D. And so this 6D is an interesting statement. The synergies with the U.S. Initiative of Muon Collider R&D should be exploited, and we definitely welcome the synergies with the U.S. Initiative of Muon Collider R&D. And this is, in some sense, a little bit of a surprising statement, because the Muon Collider development can be viewed as being in a competition with the FCCHH at some level, but nonetheless, they decided to come up with a strong wording for the supporting the U.S. Initiative of Muon Collider R&D. And the collaboration in the detector R&D that was already mentioned by Mike, and so I would actually skip that. And also this collaboration on the lattice QCD and excuse me. And the further intensifies activities in AI and sustaining with adequate resources. These things also go hand in hand with the U.S. effort. And this part, of course, it's partly European, but nonetheless, the spirit is the same here. So this is the list of initiatives in R&D US highlighted, and the 10 TV Pod and Center Mass Energy Collider. It's interesting that they actually borrowed this term now in their report. And theory, accelerated development, instrumentation detector, and the R&D effort, the cyber infrastructure, AI, computing, again, AI, and so the Fermilab accelerator component, of course, the Fermilab issue. There's a very broad consistency between what they said and what we said. And this aspect about the European laboratories in Europe, that's a European issue. I skip it. Uh, it was interesting that they mentioned electron ion collider. So DPF document actually did list electron ion collider to welcome European contribution to it, because we put this as a national input. So we got help from people in DNP to put that together. So that was definitely as part of the national input from the US. And it's great to see that that was highlighted also in this ESG document. The interesting comment in the 8B, though, is that CERN should continuously involve and explore the nuclear physics and particle astrophysics program at the current level. Consideration of additional experimental activities outside of CERN's accelerator-based particle physics programs should be subject to adequate resources being available for CERN's primary mission. So here, I don't see any indication that CERN would support U.S. Cosmic Frontier program, especially the Galaxy Survey like DESI and SPEC-S5 and so on. So that is, of course, understandable given the CERN's mandate on accelerator-based program. But this is the part that is the CERN not supporting at least a major component of the U.S. program. The sustainability environment impact, that's definitely the same here. About educational communication engagement, DEI, and these things, of course, the same here as well. And so that's basically my very quick assessment of what ESG said and how that is being consistent with the US program. So broadly speaking, I would say the recommended the European strategy in particle physics update is consistent with the US program. So that's it for me.
Thank you very much, Hitoshi. We have a couple of comments or questions from Sarah Eno. With 3 separate panels, how will the relative allocation of funds and priority between Higgs factory and muon demonstrator be decided?
And that is really a question to the agency. So I don't know any knowledge about that allocation. Abid is online, if Abid is willing to comment on that. Maybe not.
Oh, he can't unmute. I'm sorry. Let's, can we unmute Abid? Now you should be able to.
Yeah, sorry. Can you repeat the question? I just it's about the targeted panels. Is that what I understood? Or can you hear me?
Sarah's question was, with 3 separate panels, how will the relative allocation of funds and priority between Higgs factory and muon demonstrator be decided?
Right. So our plan is that when we have these targeted panels, that we will be giving a budget scenario to the panel itself, different budget scenarios, similar to like how we handled P5, right? And in that sense, and then we will try to really try to understand how we could fit the different the R&D program for the muon collider, and then actually what we could provide for a project in that sense. That's the plan right now.
I think Tor also has a reply, so I'm inviting Tor to unmute and go ahead.
Thank you, Sally. I was just noting that one of the things we talked about in P5 was, and Hitoshi, of course, knows this, but we wanted these panels to be broad, the membership to be broad, not just focused on the subgroup of experts that know the topic, but to include outsiders from the broader HEP community, so that they can at some level understand the balance and help balance the different programs.
Yep, I said that, but thank you for repeating it.
There's a comment from Heidi. Heidi, why don't you go ahead and just speak out? Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just remember back in the day, P5 actually had a meeting something like every 5 years, which assisted with the support of small, being able to propose and deal with smaller experiments. And I'm wondering, is that something we're kind of should be kind of looking at going forward, at least having some, if we're going to have three panels, at least have one that could look at the smaller experiments? Because we've gotten quite a few questions about that.
So the P5 recommendation 6 doesn't refer to the small scale experiments. So our recommendation was to put together this assay funding line
Yeah.
that is meant to support these small scale experiments. And so that have been already recommended. So that I hope will be implemented. But the Gina already indicated that that would not start the next 5 years or so. So there will be a delay, but that have been recommended. So that would not be a new recommendation.
Jordan Stark has written, related to Heidi's comments, but do we or when do we expect an update to the current funding priorities? Is that something that will happen in 5 years or 10 years? Or can you comment?
Again, that's a question to the agencies. It's beyond my pay grade.
I don't know if anyone from the agencies would like to reply. Maybe not. Okay.
And there's even a question how agency would conduct such a study when heat map doesn't exist. So I'm curious about how it gets done.
I think that's the full set of comments and questions to you, Hitoshi. So thank you very much for your report.
Okay, great.